Back at it. Another week. We're ready. We're locked. We're loaded. Today's episode's a rather fun one. Let's go ahead and make sure that we are, in fact, online as we get introduced and everything and allow some of our friends to join us here. Today is a rather fun and interesting episode because it's the first one that was at the behest of a subscriber. Somebody sent me a DM and asked me the question, which I thought was actually quite outlandish. I thought it was a little bit of a ridiculous question, but somebody asked, do I consider a taco to be a sandwich? And if you know me, then you'll know that somewhere on my body is a taco tattoo. So you should know my level of commitment to the taco as a family or as a category in and of itself of my, of some of my most favorite foods. So is a taco a sandwich? We're gonna, have that debate today. Hopefully I get some of you all, in the chat dropping some of your opinions. Keep it civil, but, let it get heated if it needs to. I thought it was a little bit of a ridiculous question, but, as I started doing a little bit of research for this episode, yes, I did just say that I have done research for this episode. You can come to expect the finest journalistic reporting from us here at Whisky Thru Food, and by us I mean me, just me, one-man operation here. But as I was kind of doing a little bit of research for this episode, it became clear to me that this was going to be a pretty contentious and heated debate. Between those that are correct in saying that a taco is not a sandwich and those that are flat out just wrong. I don't know how anyone could possibly believe that a taco, let alone I feel like if you believe a taco is a sandwich, you're likely to believe that the earth is flat and that a hot dog is also a sandwich. So let the debates rage here. Let's see. Is a torta great? Well, you know what? Now we're going to have to do a second episode. Right, so what defines a sandwich, right? Let's have that conversation. We can start to have that conversation in the chat here. The USDA, the Department of Agriculture, I feel like they're a pretty reputable group to turn to if we're looking for a definition on what a sandwich is, right? So they've said that it is a protein that is packaged between two slices of bread, right? So right there, I feel like that disqualifies, any other arguments that may be had or may be made, right? The fact that it clearly states two separate pieces of bread. I feel like that's, even a sandwich at Subway technically wouldn't be a sandwich then because it's not between two slices of bread, right? Same thing could be said for a hot dog as well, right? Corby, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. So the debate today is a sandwich or is a taco a sandwich? I ultimately don't believe that it falls into the family of the sandwich category because, well, flat out, there's only one. Well, I mean, I guess there could be multiple, but there's usually one tortilla that's used in the packaging of a delicious taco. So our food pairing today is going to be a taco al pastor, and we're going to be pairing that to Ardbeg Wee Beastie. And we'll dive into the food pairing in just a little bit. But I wanted to get back to just a little bit about what I said about the USDA's ruling, right? So the USDA says that a sandwich, again, has to have two slices of meat and then also needs a protein as well, right? Well, then on the other side of that argument, you have Merriam-Webster. So Merriam-Webster says that a sandwich that essentially a hot dog can be described as a sandwich. Well, a sandwich, at the USDA's behest needs two slices of bread. But if Merriam-Webster is going to say that we can discredit that we can just go in the opposite direction, and that a hot dog, which is obviously served on one piece of bread, which is sliced till it's open-faced almost, if we can say that is in fact a sandwich, then what's to stop a taco from also being a sandwich? Because they're both essentially open-faced and are both served on one piece of bread, or in the case of the taco, it's served on a tortilla, right? So you do have a little bit of wiggle room here. I don't personally believe or subscribe to the belief that a taco can be called a sandwich. I think it's a little outlandish, but that was a DM that somebody dropped me. So let's see what we got going in on here. What's going on, Steve? Steven, you've probably got some, some really, some great insights. Also, actually, somebody who was there when I got my taco tattoo was Steven down in San Antonio. So shout out to you, my good friend down there. So we're talking about tacos now, right? So let's go ahead and pour ourselves a little whiskey. That way we can start to talk. We can taco about it. Terrible dad joke. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Please subscribe. The dad jokes will get better with the more subscriptions. Right. Let's go ahead and open up this bottle of Ardbeg Wee Beastie as we talk about California, actually. So California is a state, a very, very liberal state. Obviously, we know this. But this liberal state of California, I feel like at some points goes a little too far. They've gone too far in this specific instance as well, because California sides with Merriam-Webster. Tax law actually states, well, I guess the interpretation of a specific tax law actually states that that the state of California lumps hot dogs and hamburgers in with sandwich stands and booths, thus making them equivalent to being sandwiches. So, I think that California has gone too far again, because they've allowed the window to be opened for, if you're going to allow one vessel or one dish that has a service medium or a service application that is an open-faced, presentation, I guess, then you have to let another one. So again, if California wants to admit and tell us that hot dogs are in fact sandwiches, then they've left the door open for the conversation that tacos are also sandwiches. These are the important debates that everybody wants to see clearly, right? So please feel free, drop your comments down in there. I want to know if you believe if a taco is a sandwich, or if you believe that that's just absurd. Right, but now let's get to the actual food pairing. We've had a little bit of theory. We've had some conversation already. So let's get down to it. It's time for a dram of whiskey. So today's food pairing, we are serving these delicious tacos al pastor. The absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite styles of tacos. And actually, I think that this is pretty interesting, because we've been talking a lot in the last few weeks about, about the dynamics of biculturalism, if you want to call it that, right? Or the influence of one culture onto another one, right? And we saw that with, Roman spice trade and how they traded cinnamon and other spices that ultimately led us to the Danish and the Swedes inventing the cinnamon roll, right? So now we've got a different kind of, a different sort of relationship. In the 1930s in Puebla, down in Mexico, you had these Lebanese immigrants that started to settle and started to make a shawarma-like dish, or a shawarma-influenced version of a taco, which would later go on to be called al pastor, which is essentially means farmer's style, right? The Lebanese, these goat farmers, very famous for some farming techniques as well, right? So we've got this delicious al pastor. I'm hoping that the fat, the richness, the rotundness off of this, and the spiciness pairs really well to a little bit of the Oloroso sherry cask that's going to be represented in Ardbeg Wee Beastie, 5-year-old whiskey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 years old, age statemented, youngest age statemented whiskey in the core range at Ardbeg. But older doesn't necessarily mean better. I think that this is a beautiful whiskey that showcases a lot of characteristic and a lot of individuality at a very young and youthful age. So let's go ahead and see how we did on our food pairing. Cheers, Slan Java. Let's try the whiskey first. Little bit of vanilla, beautiful oxidative notes. Almond, there's a marzipan-y kind of aspect as well. Go back to last week's episode, see where that starts to develop. Let's go ahead and see how our food pairing went. All right. The chili, beautiful. Beautiful spice, nice oiliness, complements the whiskey wonderfully. That little bit of spice from the chili blend, it's just really beautiful. So al pastor is typically marinated Great marinade that this little taco truck has done down here in Southwest Seattle. We've got some really incredible Mexican restaurants down here and Latin restaurants just in general. All right, let's go ahead and kick this up a notch. Let's add a little bit of hot sauce. And something we're going to do to our hot sauce, we're actually going to doctor it just a little bit. I'm sure that this house hot sauce is fantastic. But you know what? Everything's better with a little bit of Ardbeg. So let's go ahead and find out which hot sauce we're going to go ahead and use. I'm a pretty big fan of habanero. That's habanero. Beautiful heat to it. Jalapeno. We're going habanero all day. We're just going to add just a little Ardbeg to the hot sauce. Just a little to the hot sauce there, just to give it a little bit of smoke. There we go. Get it stirred around. And now we'll pour that directly onto the taco itself. Delicious. Smoky, spicy, beautiful. Now let's see how these things go. That's delicious. That's fantastic. So, you might be asking, well, Cam, why did you pair, Mexican food to Isla whiskey? Well, I think it's because I see a similarity between tequila and mezcal and Isla single malt Scotch whiskey. I think that these two spirits are influenced by the circumstances from which they're born, the earth, from which they're born, more than any other spirits on the entire planet. I think we refer to this as taste of place. Some people call it terroir. I'm hesitant to use terroir because I think that defines a region. I very much so am very fond of the term provenance, right? One specific place, one specific time, being able to encapsulate what it feels like, the experience of coming of age in that one precise place. And I think that Isla single malts, regardless of whether it's from Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Lafroig, each of them capture their own provenance in a unique and really beautiful way. Same thing can be said with tequila and mezcal. So I actually use them quite interchangeably as well. At least Ardbeg, I can use them. I can't speak for the other whiskeys on the island, but at Ardbeg, there's this beautiful citrus note that really develops that I think makes it a perfect pairing for things like lime juice and other forms of acidulation. Right, with that being said, let's move into a cocktail, baby. You know what it is. Whiskey through food, always with a great food pairing, and then always trying to make a delicious cocktail for you as well. So today, no cocktail is as synonymous with Latin and Mexican culture as the margarita. The margarita is one of my favorite cocktails. Very beautifully well-structured and well-balanced cocktail. Just absolutely perfect when it's comprised of the right proportions. So we're going to go ahead and make a little variation. We're going to use some of the pieces of our dish from today, which was, of course, al pastor tacos. First off, we're going to use a little bit of cilantro. So I'm going to take some cilantro, and I'm going to put this down into the shaker tin. And there we are. Then I'm going to take a muddler, and I'm just going to lightly press. I'm really just looking to express some of those oils. Perfect. There we go. All right, next, because the margarita, of course, needs some fresh citrus, we're going to go ahead and squeeze a lime. There we go. 1 and 2. There we go. About 1 ounce to 3/4 ounce of a lime. There you go. Nicholas, you're absolutely right. They both do have a lot of like smokiness and earthen quality to them as well. And that's because of they spend so long, engaging with the environment. For peated whiskeys, obviously they're being made from the soil beneath your feet on that island. And for a lot of mezcals, these agave varietals oftentimes are maturing in the ground for often 6, 8, 10, 12, some of them as long as 20 years, which is quite interesting. Right. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add just a pinch of Maldon sea salt. That's going to be a nod to the salted rim that decorates and comes ornately displayed across your margarita whenever you order 1 to 5 of them. No judgment at all. Next, we're going to go ahead and add just a little bit of honey. I don't typically like using agave syrup or agave nectar, to be honest. That's just me. Most agave nectar is made with Tequiliana Weber Azul, which is the lone agave varietal that you can use to make tequila, or at least 51% of the sugars have to be derived from it. So in my head, the more agave syrup or more agave sugars that we use, the less we get to use for the process of making tequila. I'd rather drink tequila than have agave syrup. But that's just me. Do whatever you feel like. All right, the star of the show, the beast, the one with the bark and the bite, Ardbeg 5-year Wee Beastie, 2 ounces. Making a pretty classically structured cocktail today. Really just a sour, right? 2, 1, 3/4. Pretty simple cocktail. All right, let's go ahead and add our ice. And then you know what time it is. It's time to make it look good while we shake it. Let's do it. All right. So at the top of the segment, we started talking about some of the legal battles that have come as a result of, trying to define the sandwich, right? One that I thought was actually really interesting was one that took place in Massachusetts, Shrewsbury, I believe, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, where the owner of a Panera Bread company tried to sue the owner of the strip mall that he was located in, that his establishment was located in. The reason he tried to sue them was because they were giving a license to a Qdoba, and he said that, hey, you gave me, essentially the right to, the exclusive rights to being the only sandwich shop. So he tried to make the argument that Qdoba burritos were actually sandwiches. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful and he lost. And also, actually, no, fortunately, no lunatic would think that a burrito is a sandwich, right? But taco, maybe? I don't know. Still, I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and strain this cocktail, get it into a glass so I can get it into my face. There we go. Pretty. Nice, pretty color to it. There we go. And of course, because we want to make sure that our cocktails not only taste delicious, but also look delicious as well, I'm just gonna put a little cilantro right on top. I love cilantro as a garnish and an active ingredient in cocktails. Let's see how we did here. Fresh, very herbaceous, herbal. Beautiful. Citrus. That cilantro really sings through it. Little smoke right on the back end. Salinity because of that Maldon sea salt really hits all notes, right? That's a perfect cocktail pairing, to an absolutely beautiful food pairing today as well. Here we go. All right, let's go ahead and see how these things paired today, and if they went well together. I have a sneaking suspicion that they really did. Wonderful. They complete each other. The fattiness from the al pastor comes back around, embraces the citric elements from the cocktail, the smoke that was residual in both of them. Because again, remember, we added a little bit of that Ardbeg Wee Beastie to our habanero hot sauce. Put that on top of the, actual tacos themselves. And then, of course, the cocktail itself was made with Ardbeg Wee Beastie as well. So there's a synergy to it all. It all kind of comes back together. And it's based around themes that were already present within the dish, and themes that are, at least culturally respectful of the intent of the original dish as well, right? which I think is overall the goal. Is try to recreate dishes while leaving intact the history, integrity, and tradition with which it was first approached. So this is an incredible food pairing, another really great one. This is why I believe that we're starting to become the internet's favorite whiskey show. Whisky Thru Food shows every Monday and every Friday, at least until the new year. After the new year, we'll be switching over to showing on Wednesdays, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I've got some pretty cool things up my sleeve. Please, again, this episode today was, only happened because somebody sent me a DM and asked the ridiculous question, if a taco is a sandwich. I think that we've presented a firm case today to say, get the hell out of here. Absolutely not. A taco is definitely, unequivocally not a sandwich. But tacos are still, in fact, delicious. And so are these cocktails. I'm Cameron George. Until next week, or until Friday, I should say. Cheers, slanjava, and I'll see you later.